A new Australian film is about to be released in cinemas across Australia, a film called Avarice. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director and co-writer of Avarice, John V. Soto. John, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I think last time we spoke was about The Gateway with Jacqueline McKenzie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that was back in 2018, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me the journey in putting together the screenplay, because there are three other writers involved
Yeah.
in fashioning the story of Avarice.
Okay, so we need to go back actually to 2018 because this has been, this was it's been in development probably for about 4 years. So 2018, I had a meeting with Dane Millard and Adam Enslow, who are writers, and we basically, I was there for Gateway actually, and something else, and I met them in Sydney, and we had a chat about mutual interest in filmmaking and a mutual interest in thrillers. And they said that they'd like to work with me on a a film project. And I said, well, that sounds good. Like, what do you have? And Dane suggested a home invasion movie. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've not really gone into that genre before. And I said to them, well, if we do that, I mean, there are so many of them that have been out, and some of them are very good, like The Strangers, for instance, and Panic Room, very, very strong home invasion films. I said, if we do that, it needs to be something fresh that hasn't been done before. So that was kind of the brief. And then over the following couple of years, we wrote a number of drafts, or should I say, Dane wrote a draft, and Adam wrote a draft, and I wrote a draft. And we worked away on it for a couple of years, even I think even 3 years, developing the script. And I felt we kind of came to a point where we weren't like it wasn't for me. It wasn't quite working, and I felt like I needed a fresh eyes on the project. So I brought in a writer, a guy called Andrew Slattery, who's obviously a very talented writer, and he came on board and he wrote a draft that kind of changed up the story. And then again, we did more drafts. I think we ended up at around 10 drafts of the story. And then probably in 2021, I wrote the final draft. I think in April for the film, which ended up being the draft that ended up being the shooting draft for the movie.
Okay. Tell me about archery, because that's a very interesting aspect of the film.
Yeah, well, the one thing I sort of insisted on was I've seen quite a few of these female Rambo movies with Angelina Jolie and um, other female actors, and you have, like, for instance, Angelina Jolie doing backflips and taking on about 10 guys, hand to hand combat, and I just felt that's so unreal. Just didn't feel realistic because in my past I had done Taekwondo for a number of years and other martial arts, and I always felt not quite realistic. And I'm sure there are girls out there that can kick guys' butts. There's no question about that. But the level of it was just, to me, I felt that it would be good if our hero or heroine had a special skill that she could use to take out the bad guys. And we went through, so as the writers, we were going through, okay, what about if she's like really good knives? Or hang on, what about if she's really good with Kali sticks, which is like this Indonesian fighting sticks? What about nunchucks? And we went through a whole range of things. And then actually, I think it was Andrew that said, well, what about archery? What if she's an archer? And initially, I was thinking, well, that's going to be difficult because how do we do archery inside a house? There's not much room. But then I went out and had an archery lesson and asked the one of the archers there, could you use this in close combat? What if someone was like 3 meters away? Could it work? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Except the arrow will go through them because of the force that the bow generates. The arrow will travel through you. And that's when I thought, okay, let's go the archery route, and we did. And then it was a matter of embedding that in the story. So we had to sort of make out that, or make sure that it's credible that It's not like she just picks up the bow and arrows and start killing the bad guys. She's in a competition at the start of the film, so we can see that she's actually a champion archer, and that's where we arrived at.
So tell me about Gillian Alexy, because how much of an archer was she to begin with?
Uh, None of the cast were archers to begin with, none of them. And we actually hired in Perth. There's a park called Whiteman Park. We had a number of archers that were there, and we hired for both for Gillian and also for Victoria Fleury, who plays her opponent in the opening in the competition. We hired professional archers, instructors, to teach them how to do archery. And the funny thing is that Gillian actually has a gift for it, because before long she had, like, I think it was 2 weeks training, or 3 weeks training, and she was hitting bullseyes, like pretty much, out of every 5 or 6, shots, she was hitting a bullseye. So yeah, she has a natural talent for it. And we decided to go. I wanted to make it as authentic as possible. So those are actual bows. We for the archery shooting competition, they were shooting real arrows. Obviously, inside the house and those other places, we weren't shooting real arrows. We were shooting arrows, but they were special arrows. It's very soft. And the gear they wear on their arm to protect their arm when the bow propels the arrow, sorry, the string propels the arrow. That's all real. And then we had a spotter behind them watching as they're going for the target. Yeah, we made it as authentic as we can to make it feel more grounded.
Well done on that, because
Thank you.
it certainly looks very effective. And of course, the premise of the film, avarice or greed, if you like to put it another way, is it's an interesting way the plot was developed. Um, Gillian and Luke Ford, they were both in McLeod's Daughters. I
Yes.
notice. So tell me
Yeah.
about casting them and the rest of your cast, because they're very good.
Yeah, no, they're great actors. I feel like I got a fantastic cast here. So Gillian, I heard about Gillian in that she was. I've noticed that she was in a number of US shows. She was in actually uh, CSI. She was in The Americans TV show, The Americans. She had her own show, The Outsiders, which I think went 2 seasons. So she was like a lead character in Outsiders. So she actually was in McLeod's Daughters, then went to LA and became very successful over there. COVID hit, and she and her partner decided to retreat back to Australia, and she's from Perth, so she moved back to Perth, and she was available at the time. So it's just one of those, it was just good luck that we were able to secure her. She read the script, she thought it was terrific. We signed her up for the script for the film, and then we needed to find her husband character. So we went through a number of went through a long list of actors we think that could work as the husband, and we settled on Luke. And again, we sent him the script, and he had to read, and I had a few questions, and then he decided he'd like to join as well. So we secured those two, and both fine Australian actors.
Very good indeed. Tell me about locations, because it was shot in Perth, as you've already mentioned, and you found some very interesting properties. How did all that work?
That was a lot of location scouting. So that house is in Kalamunda. It's in the hills of Kalamunda, overlooking, as you can see in the distance, the city. There's actually a shot in the film where Luke, or Ash, his character, is having a glass of wine, and he's sitting next to Gillian, Kate, and we're shooting at their side, and behind them, through the window in the very far distance, you can see the city. And I've actually had a few people say, "Oh, was that CGI?" It's like, no, that's the view. That is the city. it's a little, it's quite it's probably the size of like I don't know, 50-cent piece in the distance, but you can see it there. So that's how far away we were. So we looked at a location. We were originally going to shoot down in Rockingham, the beach location. So, so the original, like the early versions of the script, was actually at a beach house. And I don't know. For me, I felt that the being near the sea and a beach house, it's kind of bland. It's a kind of bland background for the film. I want to think that's more texturally interesting, which is a forest. And we it was actually our our location manager, Danny Booth, who found the property. She sent me, hundreds of properties, and that was the one that we went and checked it out. And literally, we're walking through the house, I'm like, God, this matches the script. Double story, the bedroom's here, the kids' bedroom's there, and it was just perfect.
Very well done. Yeah.
Thank
How
you.
long was the shoot?
Well, this is a low budget film, so our budget is 2 million, and we only had 4 weeks for the shoot.
Yeah.
So, that's a very tight budget. But fortunately, my first AD, John Fairhead, is a wizard at scheduling, and like we were just it was just go 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 shooting that. In terms of the other main location, we have various houses, things, but there's also the warehouse location. That is in Bentley, near Curtin University. It's a series of warehouses and buildings there, and we shot warehouse scenes there.
Okay. Now, apart from the look of the film, which, as you've already mentioned, is looks excellent, tell me about the music, Thomas Rauch's music, and the sound design.
So with the sound design, I had Mark D'Angelo involved in that, and I had obviously Thomas Rauch's for the score, and we had a bit of fun there. Well, I wouldn't say fun. We actually had some challenges because remember we shot this during COVID, so generally you'll find this interesting, but generally making a film, honestly, for me it's like it's 5-10% fun, like really good fun. It's 90% hard work, 95% just hard work. And then we had COVID on top. So you're wearing face masks, it's all sweaty, and you got the lights on the crew and the cast, and then we had a shutdown. We shot for 2 days, and the whole thing shut down. So it was very it was a high anxiety shoot for me, because it's like, well, are we going to finish this? What if someone gets, the worst comes to the worst? What if someone gets COVID and something happens to them? They can't come back for like 6 months. So it was very, very tough. We got through that. Come post production, we had, as I mentioned before, Mark D'Angelo handling the sound design, and he did a fabulous job. I said to him, this is an action thriller, so I'd like you to really work on making the audience feel unsettled. So he's added designs with that, sound designs with that, and also for Thomas Rauch, the composer. He basically, I love the score. He's done a great job with the score. For him it was also challenging because we had setbacks with the actual post production, in that the sound team got COVID, and that shut us down for they couldn't work on the film for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then there was all sorts of complexities doing the post production on this movie, but we got through it in the end, and I think the design and the score seems to work. Like there's been, I've had some good feedback on the film, and they seem to enjoy it. What were your thoughts? Did you enjoy the score?
Oh, absolutely, and I'm quite familiar with Mark and with Tony from Backlot Pictures, etc. So yeah,
Right.
it does work very effectively, and no, it's a good tight thriller. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, well done on that. And it's also interesting to see two female protagonists
Yes.
squaring off against one another. It's for
Yeah.
an Australian film that is unusual.
Yeah. Exactly. I wanted again. I wanted to do something fresh. Okay. So I guess. Okay. So one of the things of the film is that it's not just a home invasion movie. It's actually what we call or revenge-o-matic. So there's something, something bad. We can't give away too much because the audience haven't seen the film, but
Mm.
one of the characters suffers a loss, and that sort of triggers our hero into the revenge spree, you might say. And what I wanted to do was not just have the whole film set at the house. I wanted to break out of being stuck in the house. So, which is the thing with other home invasion movies like Real Strangers and Panic Room. They're just at the house. So with this one, I thought, well, how cool would it be if we click onto the revenge side, revenge-o-matic side, and our hero or heroine goes after the bad guys, and she invades their home. So they've invaded her home at the start, and then she goes after them in their lair at the warehouse, and that's essentially what happens. Yeah, so that was good. And then I thought, in terms of having the antagonist, I thought, well, because again, uh, quite often in these home invasion films, it's always the guy is either the protagonist and he saves the day, saves the family. So I thought, well, let's put the female in charge, and then so it's different. And then with the antagonist is also usually a guy. So well, why can't it be a woman? And what if she's like a real battle hard? If someone is like an ex-soldier, and she'll just pull a gun out and just shoot you in the head, type that sort of person. And that's how we came up with Reed as her formidable opponent.
Well done on that. It certainly works. Now, the film is about to be released in Australian cinemas, which is great to see it roll out. And I notice, was it at the Montreal Independent Film Festival?
Yes, so it played there. It was selected for the Montreal Independent Film Festival, and it won Best Thriller.
Ah,
So that was yes, that was very exciting. So yeah, it was nice to have a film recognised and selected. And yes, we got that, and it also was selected for Cinefest Oz. So we played at Cinefest Oz. We recently have selected for the WA Screen Awards for best most innovative film with a budget over 1 million. And then there's also the London Director Awards. So I was very fortunate to get selected for that. So yeah, so it's actually got some, I guess you can call it some sort of critical interest, which is nice. But
hmm.
ultimately, I don't make the film for the festivals or the critics. I make the film for the fans, people who enjoy a good thrill. You want to have an entertaining, 90 minutes, and go on a journey with the protagonist and get into the story. That's kind of my. It's always been what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. Look, absolutely. As I was watching it, I thought this is a really strong genre film, and it would do well, for example, in a North American market, if it's going to be released there.
Yeah, well, actually, this film has so far had done really well internationally. So the film has been picked up by distributors. So our sales agent, Epic Pictures, they have sold the film to distributors in the US, Canada, UK, Germany, Italy, South Korea, Japan, Turkey, Poland, Spain, Portugal. It goes on and on. It's the film has sold pretty much every territory, and they're releasing it. Some are releasing in theaters, and some are on VOD. But it's just nice that the film is going to get. This is a little Australian film we've made in WA, and that's going to get exposure all around the world. So yeah, I'm actually really happy about that.
And that demonstrates that it's all about story and about the way
Yeah,
a film is put together, not about budget or big names or anything like that.
yeah, precisely. So it's not like we had Russell Crowe in the film or like a major Hugh Jackman in the film. We didn't need that. The distributors watched the film and they just liked the overall concept. Essentially a champion archer taking on a bunch of bad guys in a home invasion movie. That's the concept. And they enjoyed the quality of the film and they bought it. And then the film has done really well for sales, like all around the world.
Well, congratulations on that. The film deserves that sort of recognition. So,
Thank you, Peter.
so John, I'm intrigued. Are you working on another film at the moment?
Well, I am. I always like to have as I call it, lots of fishing lines in the water. So because my last film was Gateway, which is back in 20. I mean, we shot that in 2017, and this is now 2022. So it's like, well, what have I been doing for the last 5 years? Yeah, I've been working on other scripts. So I always have about three on the go, and I'm just constantly, rewriting and developing, and then pitching to different sales agents or getting feedback from various parties. And I have like an exciting supernatural thriller that I'm working on right now. And I also have I can't say too much, but I've also got a little TV series which I hope might get picked up. Who knows? But it's a short series, limited edition, limited number of episodes series, and uh, it's like a murder mystery. I can't say any more than that, but it's pretty cool.
Okay. And I can imagine with the proliferation of streaming services like Netflix and Stan and Amazon Prime and so on, that there would be more opportunities to make films for those platforms.
Yeah, I think I think the streamers have definitely added to the opportunities or the potential for films to be picked up and released and sold. I have noticed a lot of the streamers sort of tend to, pretty much push their own content. But yeah, there's definitely more opportunities than what there was, say, 5 years ago for a film to get picked up and released by a streamer. And yeah, that's very true.
And I would also think, now that the film is about to be released in Australian cinemas, that there's more of an appetite for genre films from Australia, whereas there used to be a bit of a snob appeal, I suppose, that some people would look down on genre films from Australia, saying, "Oh, well, we should be making these important films," whatever that means. But
Yeah, yeah,
but I think
yeah.
your film
The
fits so
films,
well. Yeah.
yeah, the films with a message. Yeah, look, I think the proof's in the pudding. Like the genre films travel well; they sell internationally, and Australia is, I think, 4 or 5% of the global entertainment market. If you just make films for Australians, well, then that's your total market reaches 4 or 5% versus 100%. So you want to try. That's always been my philosophy, which is make quality Australian films that appeal to international markets, international distributors, or international audiences. Overall, genre films certainly travel well globally, and I think we should be making more of them. I think that is the future for Australian filmmakers.
Absolutely agree, and hopefully there'll be many more. And John, just before I let you go, have you seen anything recently that has impressed you?
Okay, films that I have seen recently that have impressed me. Um, that is a good question. Hang on, you got me on the spot there. I've seen a lot of. Been watching a few shows. I've been watching The White Lotus, which is
Oh yeah.
on binge, which is very interesting. Very interesting premise, which is that there's essentially there's a death at the start of the series, and then the rest of the series you're trying to work out who it is, who's the person that dies. That's a great show. And I have been watching. I'm into sci-fi, obviously, so I've been watching War of the Worlds. Enjoying War of the Worlds. I'm just trying to think of. I've watched so many films. I'm trying to think of ones that I've enjoyed uh, recently. I liked Elvis. I think Baz did a great job on that film. That was definitely an international film. Very impressed with that. I'm trying to think other films. Yeah, hang on.
No, that's fine. That's a good
I
list.
have,
Yeah.
no worries. I have been going back and watching some Tarantino's films. So I watched Reservoir Dogs again recently. Just amazing.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. Look, John, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We've been speaking to John V. Soto, the director and co-writer of Avarice, on release in Australian cinemas this coming week. And thanks so much for talking with me.
Wonderful. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, cheers. Okay, bye.